Welcome to the Deep Dive. So today our mission is really to cut through the material you sent over about how schools actually structure things. We're looking at the core systems, right?
Yeah.
The ones meant to keep teaching quality up and maybe more tricky, fight off that sort of teacher apathy we sometimes see.
Exactly. And specifically professional development, or PD, but not just, a one-off workshop. We're talking about the ongoing system. How do you set it up to prevent confusion, ensure accountability, but still help people grow?
Right. And if it's about systems, then we probably need to start with the basics, the sort of administrative scaffolding. What did the research flag as the absolute must-haves for clarity? Because sometimes structure just feels like red tape, doesn't it?
Well, the first thing they really insisted on is unity of command. It sounds simple, maybe, but it's critical. Basically, every teacher answers to one supervisor. That's it. So a math teacher, they report to their head of department. They can't just bypass them and go to the vice principal, especially not for conflicting instructions. It cuts out the noise.
Okay, so one clear boss. That makes sense for avoiding mixed signals. But then there's the scalar principle, the actual chain of command. Teacher, HOD, VP, principal. Doesn't forcing people to follow that rigidly just slow things down? Say, for getting new textbooks or something. Is it worth the extra step?
The sources argue, yes, it is. That unbroken line, teacher to HOD, OD to VP, VP to principal, it's seen as vital. So for those textbooks, yeah, the request has to go via the HOD first. The point isn't really to slow it down. It's more about ensuring each level knows what's happening and that problems are ideally solved lower down the chain.
Right. Keeping people in the loop and empowering middle managers, kind of.
Yeah.
So that structure sets the groundwork. How does that then translate into actual effective supervision? Because it's got to be more than the big formal observation everyone dreads. What specific strategies did the research highlight? Anything that's, jumped out?
Yeah, a couple things. One was using staggered short drop-in visits, like 10 minutes, unannounced, often during maybe the first or last period of the day. It's less about a formal review, more about quick, specific feedback on active teaching.
10-minute drop-ins. Okay, I can see how that might feel a bit, nerve-wracking maybe.
Yeah.
But probably gives a much more real picture than a planned lesson.
Yeah.
And what about outside the classroom?
Absolutely. Informal stuff matters too. Like the principal making a point to spend, say, 15 minutes in the staff room during break, not interrogating, just being present, actively listening. That builds trust. And support needs to be timely and crucially specific. So for a new history teacher struggling, it's not just find better resources. It's maybe giving them a ready-made unit plan template or even links to some pre-vetted online primary sources. Practical help.
Okay, that makes sense. Provide the tools, not just the critique.
Yeah.
But this all assumes teachers are engaged. What about when apathy creeps in? The signing the register, but maybe not really teaching or slipping out early. How do you tackle that without just being punitive?
Yeah. Well, accountability has to come into it. You need to track engagement somehow. And yes, that means strengthening supervision, maybe building a bit of a paper trail. The research mentioned using something like a simple digital log sheet after observations, even those short drop-ins, to note engagement levels or lack thereof. It builds a picture over time.
A digital log.
Real.
Okay. And presumably you need clear expectations set before it gets to that point.
Definitely. Having teachers sign a clear code of professional conduct at the start of the year helps. Something that outlines basics like lesson prep, punctuality. It gives a clear baseline for any difficult conversations later.
Right, so you have the stick, but you need the carrot too, right?
Yeah.
How do you balance accountability with actually motivating people?
Exactly. You can't just rely on consequences. Recognition is huge. It could be as simple as publicly praising a teacher's innovative use of, say, project-based learning. Or maybe something slightly more formal, like a commitment star certificate. Sounds small, but it reinforces the positive.
And what about more tangible incentives, things that show real investment?
That's key too. Offering release time, getting substitute cover, so a valued teacher can develop new curriculum materials, for instance. Or funding their attendance at a national conference in their subject area. That shows the school values their growth.
So investing in their development directly. And there was one more element, wasn't there, about involving teachers?
Yes, participatory leadership. Creating something like a teacher advisory committee, a group that actually gets a say, maybe even votes, on things like discipline policies or how PD time is scheduled. Giving teachers that ownership, that voice, makes apathy much harder to take root.
Okay, so pulling it all together, the main takeaway seems to be this blend. Firmness and fairness, yes, but also empathy. And the PD, the professional development, needs to be continuous, structured within that clear chain of command, and actively supported.
Absolutely. Which brings us to a final thought for you, the listener. If we agree that accountability and recognition work best together in a supportive structure, where's the real leverage point in that chain of command principal, VP, head of department for actually kickstarting and sustaining a genuinely positive, committed school culture? Who's best placed to make that daily difference?